good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host, and I have a super special guest on today. If you guys don't know this lady, you are about to be extremely impressed, hopefully as I am. I'd like to welcome Linda Ann Barber to the show. Linda, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ken. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you on. I don't even know. We've been Facebook friends for a while. I don't know how long. A
Yeah.
couple years, I would.
I would say
I
two
think.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a
Yeah.
while.
And I've seen you out there posting. You're so happy and positive all the time, and you work for our buddy Welding Long,
Yes, I
right?
do. Yeah, yeah.
And you kind of run his entire existence.
I don't know about that, but I certainly try.
I know. So, this is a show that I created to help people have a breakthrough in life, because I truly believe that some people get stuck and they stay stuck. They don't know how to get through all the junk, and
Right.
and they don't, and they don't know where to turn. So I think that by sharing our stories to the world, we actually empower other people to succeed or become unstuck, right?
Yeah, I agree. I
So
totally agree.
so let's start with telling everybody where you were born and raised.
Well, I'm from New York, upstate New York. I always say that now that I live in Colorado, I tell people that because they kind of look at New York like, oh, you're one of those.
Yeah.
So, I was born and raised in Troy, New York, and I actually was on a podcast, listening to a podcast last week, and a gentleman had a sweatshirt on from our area, which is super cool. And but yeah, from Troy, New York, and I moved to Colorado about 6 months ago.
And so, where is Troy, New York? Is that like far away? Because whenever I think of New York, I think of the city, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
everybody.
it's 3 hours north of the city.
Oh,
So yeah, it's a
wow.
lot different. Like the city should be its own state. It's
Right?
very, very different. And the city is excellent. I mean, it's
Yeah,
fun, it's
yeah,
exciting, but it's just very different, upstate.
yeah, yeah.
So
I've
yeah.
actually driven through there. I've driven, well, not, I don't know if I was in Troy, but like we drove out to Boston for a wedding, and we
Oh,
went
okay.
across like the Finger Lakes or something, or
Yeah,
upstate.
that's more northwest of me.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like right in the center of the state.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's a huge state. So, growing up for you, when you were, growing up as a kid, what was it like growing up in upstate New York for Linda Barber?
It was great. I came from a family with three brothers. That's what they toughened me up, so that was great. So I'm the only girl,
Yeah.
and went to a Catholic school. My parents, they, worked paycheck to paycheck. They did the best that they could. My mom was extremely young when she had us, 17, 18, and 19. She had us right in a row. And then
Wow.
my little brother is 4 years younger than I am. So, we didn't have a lot, but we had everything,
Yeah.
so, and like I said, my parents did the best that they could, and what we didn't have, it really made us go out. Like my brothers are very motivated, as well as I am. And I really think that that's a credit to the fact that, my dad worked for us in a steel mill. Like I said, he just couldn't always make ends meet, even though he worked hard. And I think that, really pushed us to hustle. We were out there shoveling snow at 10, and I was like a little thing, when I was younger, and, I'm lugging newspapers, and the bag weighed more than I did, but, it's all great. And you're running to the next house to beat like your own brother to, shovel the snow. So it was all, the childhood was a great experience.
Yeah, and I did the same exact stuff. I
Yeah.
was racing my brother and all the other neighborhood kids.
Sure.
So you were, I mean, you grew up in a typical middle class, or sounds like maybe even a little bit lower than middle class, like me. I watched my parents make, well, my mother make. I think after 25 years of working in this factory, when she finally quit, I think she was making $9 an hour or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what? How? Like, so, that sounds similar. Very similar.
Yeah. Yeah. We started out in the projects, as you can imagine. My mother was 17 years old.
Yeah.
My dad would walk to work every day. So we started out in the projects, and, then my parents evolved from there, but at a very early age, my brothers, they gave us the necessities, but necessities like a pair of sneakers for gym class. Like sometimes that was on to make that happen. And, but it's all good. It's not something I complain about because, like I said, I am who I am today because of that,
Right.
so I'm very grateful.
Right. And totally can relate to that.
Yeah.
So you went to elementary school, middle school, high school, all in this little town?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not so little.
No?
It's not so little. I mean, it's not the size of New York City, but it's not so little,
Right.
But, yeah.
And it was Troy, right? Troy, New
Troy.
York.
It's right outside of Albany, which is the capital of New York.
Oh, okay. So it was a good sized town then.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
I grew
that's why
up-
I was surprised. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No.
that's why I was surprised that I had met somebody from Troy on a podcast last week.
That's awesome.
So it was kind of cool.
So you did you go to college?
I did.
Did you? Where'd you go?
I went to a college in Albany, and I was working full time, and I went to college full time. And I always thought that at 18 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? I mean, at 50, I'm still trying to figure out what the hell I want to be when I grow up, right? So,
Right.
it just happens. But but at 18, what I thought I wanted to do is work in the airlines, be a stewardess. I was tall, so I figured, okay, I got one qualification down, So I went to college for that, and I also got a degree in sales and marketing as well. So yeah, I did go to college.
Okay. And you graduated with a degree in
Sales and marketing and a
okay.
minor in travel.
Okay.
I never worked for the airlines. I went on to become a financial advisor for 20 years and continued my education because one, you have to, being in the industry, but two, I mean, you have to consistently, educate yourself just to keep, abreast of all the changes in the industry and all of that. So,
wow.
So it just carried on through life,
Yeah. So you you became a financial advisor. Was it for one of the bigger companies or?
Yeah, for MetLife Financial.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It was kind of on accident. I was working for an amazing company in Albany. They were an architectural firm. They were the biggest firm at the time. I think they still are, to be honest with you. And I was very ambitious at 20 years old, but I was working 78 to 80 hours a week. And at the time I was married, and it was just after 5 years of that, it was kind of like, I thought that was the issue in my relationship. It turns out it wasn't the issue, but what I did was I gave that up. I gave that, and I absolutely loved my career. I mean, day and night, and, so with that, my older brother said, "Oh, you need to come work, with me. This is great." And I'm like, "Doing what? Selling insurance?" I'm like, I can't sell insurance because in my mind, the only people that sold insurance were fat old men. And I don't mean to be discriminatory, but whenever somebody knocked on our door, it was an older gentleman, and I was like, I'm not cut out for insurance. So I said, I can do anything for 6 months. Well, then 20 something years later, there I was. So.
Oh my gosh. And what kind of insurance was it? Life?
Initially it was property and casualty. And then about 7 years into it, a lot of my clients trusted my recommendations. So I would, people have more needs than property and casualty insurance. They have life insurance. They want to plan for their, for their children's education. And so they were always looking to me to give them some guidance. Yeah. And then one day the light bulb went off and said, well, why don't I benefit from these relationships that I've created over these years? So then I became a financial advisor.
Wow.
And I did everything. I did from, investments to life insurance to property and casualty.
Wow. Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a great run.
And you did a 20-year run.
Yeah.
So you did this, was this like just in your area or were you all over the place?
In the state of New York, some of my clients moved to Massachusetts and also Florida and Connecticut, I believe it was. So I was licensed in those states as well.
Okay. And how did you back then, I want to kind of talk about the sales aspect of it. Because I walked out of high school my senior year and I said, this is stupid, I'm done, and walked away. and so I didn't get a degree in sales and marketing, and my wife has a couple of degrees, and I can't relate to that. And so from a sales and marketing perspective, how did you did it help you? Do you feel like that helped you in your career? Was it real life? Did you say, oh, thank God I learned this in college, I can apply it?
I don't think so, because I was taking classes in advertising, which obviously I've never utilized. I think what really helped me, honestly, if I was a very shy girl, and that might be a surprise to you, because I think even my son sometimes chuckles at that thought. But, he's like, Mom, you're like you talk to everybody. Like when he was little, he's like, you're like a politician. You talk to everyone,
Right.
So. But I think what really prepared me for sales is when I was in college, I worked full time because I lived outside our home.
Right.
And I worked part time at a restaurant. I was a cocktail waitress. And the only thing that guaranteed payment was my interaction with other people. Well, as a shy girl, that was really tough for me. So, that really broke my shell, and, because I had a hustle. I wasn't there just to kill time. I was there to make money, right? I was in college. I had to pay for things. So that really, I would say that was the one thing that really prepared me for the world of sales, is because, it broke the shell. It made me interact with people, and I genuinely love people, but I was always kind of in the background when it came to that. So I would think that life experience prepares you for sales and interaction and building relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of
Genuinely.
the best, right. Some of the best salespeople I've ever hired have been former servers, or one of the best people I ever hired, I'll never forget this guy because he was absolutely one of the funniest people I've ever known, was the general manager at a restaurant, at this 5-star steak restaurant. And I complained about my steak, and this guy came to my table and just was killing me in laughter, and I literally recruited him on the spot to be the general manager for my company. And that's so awesome. That I truly believe that's I think that if every college kid or 18-year-old kid went out and either did that and did it for a couple of years, or just go out door to door cold calling, that would prepare you for life.
I believe so. Like I said, it was my turning point for me.
Yeah.
It was my turning point. And I'm not saying my education didn't help me, but I really can't, when you ask me that question, I can't go back and say, wow, it was this course. It was this, instructor.
Right.
It was impactful.
Yes, sure. So with your sales career in the insurance industry, how did you generate leads? How did you generate was it just handed to you, all the leads?
No. And I don't know if my brother's on here, but he's probably laughing at this because a lot of newbies would come in and say, I don't have any damn leads, and we would just laugh because what happened was I would literally open up a phone book Or I would go down to the courthouse and say, as a woman, I didn't want to just go into any neighborhood. I would choose a neighborhood and
Uh-oh.
phone numbers, so we didn't have any lead generation. You had to get out there and hustle and find your own leads, create your own leads. But it started with a phone book and going to the courthouse.
Wow. That's incredible.
And some viewers may not even know what a phone book is. We don't have those anymore, do we?
Right.
But that's how it started.
Yeah, they used to make those things, didn't they?
Yeah.
I don't even think, do they make the white pages anymore? I don't think so.
I haven't seen one in several years.
I know. I'm with you. So you did it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, we did.
And today, like these us 50-year-olds, I mean, these kids today don't get it.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's great because I
Yeah.
don't know what I would do without Google, so
Right.
I think it's great that they have that leg up, but certainly not something to complain about, because the leads are out there, but there's smarter ways of gaining leads today, right?
Yes.
So I probably wasted a lot of time driving to the courthouse and, literally looking up, name by name and then having to go to the phone book and look it up the phone. That's like a lot of time invested, right?
Yeah.
So I credit the fact that they have, today we all have better ways of gaining leads, but certainly things were different.
It was a lot different back then.
Yeah.
And I've been there myself. So you would go out and you went to neighborhoods and knocked on doors.
Pretty much. I would be like, oh, I just, saved Mr. Walls, money and, kind of introduce myself and, I might have fibbed a little bit and said, oh yeah, he suggested I, come and meet you, that type of thing. But,
Right.
I might have fibbed, to get my way. But yeah, that's how it was done.
Wow. So after that, so you did that like going out, not knocking on doors for 20 years.
No. What happens is that, the thing is in that arena, it's really about relationships because you can go to Allstate, you can go down to Nationwide. There's a lot of competition. And did I have great products? Absolutely. But the bells and whistles weren't enough for people to stay with me, right? So it was really the relationship. And then when you have that relationship, then they're referring their neighbors and their family. And that's how I built my business.
Yeah.
You just take good care of people and, it all works out.
Referrals happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So along the way, you, after 20 years of being with MetLife the whole time?
Correct, yes.
Wow, talk about commitment. Wow. So go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't want to gloat about that because in part, I was a single mom. So since my son was 4, so I was in a career that allowed me to be flexible. So I was in a position where I was the sole person to, have to pay for the home and all his needs and so forth for a very long time. So I needed the full-time work, but I also needed the flexibility. And in today's environment, I recognize that as entrepreneurs, we do have more flexibility. But back then, I just kind of had such a focus, and part of it was survival. So, my career allowed me to work full-time, but get my son on the bus, be there at 2:40 when he got off the bus, get him to the football field, all those things. And then I was able to do my work at night, do the financial plans or whatever needed to be done at night. So I didn't sleep a lot, but, I am so grateful because it gave me the financial means that I needed. It gave me the times that I could never have back of going to volunteer at my son's school or be there for, there's various reasons why I had to be there for him after school. We had some safety issues. Yeah. So it allowed me to have the life that I wanted and needed.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Commission,
yes. Yeah.
Commission only.
Well, I had a small part
Yeah.
that was salary, and I wouldn't even call it salary. What it was is the renewals.
Yeah.
So I could estimate like what that would be,
Yeah.
but that wouldn't put food on your table. So yeah,
Right.
it was commission. It was kind of a roller coaster career for
Right.
sure, but
Right. Eat
but
what
it
you kill.
commission's not a bad thing though. I love
No.
commission, so it's not a bad thing.
I don't know that I've ever, I mean, there's been maybe one or two times in my entire adult life that I had any kind of a guarantee, which wasn't even really a guarantee. A lot of times
Right.
it was a draw against commission or something like that. So, that's where wealth is made. I truly believe that's where wealth is made.
Yeah, because what it did is it took the ceiling off,
Right?
right? So there were years that I did okay.
Yeah.
And then there's years that I, did great,
Yeah.
so that's the roller coaster part, but it was all up to me,
Right.
so, but it wasn't like I went and worked for a company that said, you're going to make this amount of money and hope to get 2% at the end of the year.
Right.
So, and I recognize that that's comfortable for people, but it would have never satisfied me.
Right. Right. So at some point though, you ended up leaving MetLife.
I did. And, I reached a point where Dylan, my son, went off to college.
Hmm.
And I just remember like one of the things that kept me in that position were my clients, like going back to our, what we just talked about is the relationships.
Yeah.
So they were like my family. They were my friends, right?
Right.
So many of them.
Yeah.
So that was like really hard. But one day I was in my office and a client said something to me and I remember just responding and it wasn't very positive. And that was so unlike me.
Uh,
And I felt horrible. They left and and it was, I can't really remember what this person said, but my response was, are you really asking me that dumb question? Like it was kind of like that. Like that
oh
was
wow.
my feeling. And that's not me. Like I literally went, I broke down. I was like really upset that I had felt that way.
Yeah.
I didn't obviously respond that way, but because I had that feeling, I knew that it was time. Like I was done. I wasn't motivated. I didn't have what it took to continue. And it wasn't fair to my clients. And I wasn't in a financial situation to walk into my boss's office and resign, but I was at a point where I knew that I could do anything, and just see where God takes me. And that's what I did. I walked in and resigned it took me a while, I had some stepping stones
Yeah.
career wise,
Yeah.
over the few years. But it was the best decision I've made for myself for sure, for certain.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you didn't have a backup plan at that moment?
No, not really. No, I was kind of maybe like a little too confident. I
Right.
was like, I'm pretty valuable. I'll find something, And I mean, I did fine, I did okay. But the thing is that no, I didn't have it. Something switched in me that said, if I don't do this now, I'm going to be stuck. I'm
Yeah.
going to stay here. I'm not going to be happy, And I need to make this shift.
But did you spend like days, weeks, months thinking about this, or was it in that moment, like a couple 10, 15 minutes after the client blow up thing?
No, no, I think it was something that I was feeling for like a good year or
Okay.
so. And it was that moment, the way I felt, and I didn't like feeling like, because that's how that was a friend I was feeling that
Yeah.
towards. And I
Yeah.
didn't like that. I didn't
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. You're like, enough's enough. I gotta go find Linda.
Yeah, it was my time for certain.
Yeah. Yeah. So you left there that day, and obviously 20 years in a commission only financial services business. You were definitely, I would imagine, in the six figures with what you were doing, and sounds like you were doing very well. And I know some very, very wealthy insurance people, very wealthy.
Yeah, yeah. I was doing well for a long time, but
Yeah.
I that started to come down,
Yeah.
for various reasons,
Right.
and I take responsibility for that because part of it was my attitude.
Yep.
The other part was certainly the industry changes. 2008 happened. We lost a lot of the products that we were relying on to sell. So when you don't have a product to sell, it's kind of hard to make money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but looking back, I take full responsibility for that because it was really my attitude.
Yeah.
I stayed positive, but anything that held me back financially was because of what I had up here,
Right.
so.
Right. So you left there, and that day you went home and you're like, oh God, what did I just do?
Son, we're not going to be eating for a while.
Right, right. Let's start cutting the bark off the trees. That's going to be dinner. Where did you go from there though? What was next for you? What happened
Well,
next?
I reached out to a friend and I went to work for an insurance company, but that position was like kind of like the 9 to 5
Okay.
position. And quite honestly, I was at a point where I just said I can do anything for a period of time to get me to where I want to be, right?
Right.
And I was feeling great, like I said, my son was going off to college. I was like super excited about that. I was kind of like, mom time, a little bit, so I was just really excited about what was to come, So I did that for about 6 months, and I had some health issues that were starting, and I was thinking it was the 9 to 5 being kind of locked in a cage when I'm not used to that.
Right.
I was used to coming and going, and now that sounds fine, but I still had a lot of obligations because it is commission. So even though I had that flexibility, I still was up late at night. I was there when I needed to be there, but still having that freedom, is great. It's a real privilege. So now I'm put in a situation where I'm working 9 to 5. Plus now I have some health issues that are coming into my life. And, I ended up, leaving that position, but, and moving on and doing a few other things. But, that was my plan B, if you will.
So okay. So at some point though, and I don't know what point it was exactly, you happen across a pretty spectacular dude that you are working for now or with, or I don't know how you guys title it, but I know you're the president of his company, and he is one of my favorite people in the world. As you already know, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
But how did that all, is there anything in between there that we're missing that was like the catalyst for pushing you into what you're doing now?
Well, and I know he's a big fan of yours as well, so that was very nice of you to say, but he is definitely a dynamic person for certain, and I'm very blessed. But when I had left the insurance company, that my plan B, like I said, I thought it was my health issues were due to the fact of feeling like claustrophobic, put in this position where I had to, stay from 9 to 5 and that type of thing. So I left there and worked for a couple of companies. And with that, I was just trying to branch out. And part of that was through social media marketing. So what I was doing was going on Facebook Lives and really trying to convey to people how important it was to market themselves on social media, to bring awareness to yourself. And then one of the other things was to take my story, because we all have a story, right? And it was at a point in my life where I felt that things don't happen to us for no purpose. Like God doesn't bring us to and through without a purpose.
Right.
So I was using my story to say, like, as uncomfortable as it was, to at least try to impact one person. I said, if I can share my story and do that. So I was out on social media and I had no idea what I was doing. It was very uncomfortable. You're worried about what people are thinking. People are, unfollowing you or judging you and all of that. But at the end of the day, this is your life and your story. And, and that's how Weldon found me. Was I had done a social media video about a year and a half ago. maybe not quite a year and a half ago, but he reached out to me, asked me some questions about social media. It was something that he needed in his organization. And quite honestly, I wasn't in a position, like my platform wasn't conducive to what he needed.
Right.
And it goes back to what we just talked about. Even though financially now I'm like kind of put myself in a pickle, right? I leave a job and I'm just grasping at straws. I was out there like trying to make money somehow, some way. And I was really in a bad financial situation, like very bad. Very, very bad. I put myself in a really bad position. I mean, like I said, my health had impacted that, my plan. I had a plan, but my health had stopped me. But at the end of the day, I should have made better decisions for myself. But at the time, I was like really trying to make ends meet. And when he came to me, my product wasn't conducive, and you do the right thing. And I just said to him, I was like, I understand. He told me his story because he's like, let me tell you my story so that you know what it is that I need. And I just shared with him that I couldn't personally help him, but I will go out and give me 2 business days. I'll seek 2 referrals and get those to you. So that's exactly what I did, and never expected anything more from him. And what was nice is that he had sent my son and I The Power of Consistency, which is his second book. And so I started reading that. And then when I started to open up that book, I said, wow, I need to learn more about his story. And I read his other book, and never thinking that I would hear from Welding Long again. But it was like a few weeks later, he called me up and said, hey, I have this position and I've been thinking about you, and would you be able to, do this, this, and this? And it was just the right time for him and me. And that's just how it worked out. And I started working with him in October of last year.
Wow. And you and I were friends before that. We were friends for, I think, quite a while before that. And so in that book, The Power of Consistency, holy crap, what an amazing book.
It is life-changing.
It's life-changing.
It's certainly, I actually have it here. About 6 months ago, Weldon was traveling, and, in that book, as you know, you sit down every morning and you have your quiet time ritual, right? Yep. So one of the things I did was I had done my personal prosperity plan before working with Weldon, and then when I started working with him, I redid it. And never knowing, I was his keynote manager, so I was going to travel with him. I was seeking out more keynotes for him and, kind of organizing the schedule. So that was my primary role. And that has since changed, but never knowing that it was going to change, not saying I was going to become president of the company, right? So about 7 months ago, I sent him pieces of my prosperity plan. And I was like, wow, this shit works, because everything that I wrote out it manifested. Yep. So I'm so grateful to that, because it really gets your head straight in the morning, no matter what other distractions that you have. So it is, yes, to what your mention was, yes, it's a very powerful book. Yeah. But I mentioned that not because I work for Welding Long, but from a personal standpoint, it has impacted my life.
And for those that are watching that are not familiar with his books, the first one is, I have it,
The Upside of Fear, which is his autobiography.
Yeah. Which is just an insane story. I couldn't stop reading. Remember I was in the middle of doing other things, and I'm like, oh, and I had it on Kindle, and I'm like, well, I can wait, and I'd open up the Kindle and I'd start reading. I'm like, I gotta stop. I got shit to do. So it's so good. His books and his style of writing, his storytelling is so powerful. It keeps you.
Yeah, definitely. And it's very true in his words, for certain. And he always says, well, it was written by a 9th grader, because he dropped out of school in the 9th grade. So, but that book, it was certainly a book I read over the weekend. You can't put it down.
Wow.
because, his journey is amazing. And then with that, I'm sure you felt the same way. As after I read that book, I said, wow, no matter what I was going through, the time I was, I was not in a very, I wouldn't say I was in a dark place, but I was not in a very good place.
Right.
But I was just like, whatever is going on doesn't really matter, because I can make anything happen. Because if he can do this at the age of 39, just get out of prison, into a homeless shelter, and then in 5 years build a $20 million company. And then between all that, like, change so many lives along the way. It's like, I can do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
It really
insane.
empowers you.
It really
empowers
does.
you, doesn't it? Yeah.
And I had Weldon on the show. I said, man, I didn't drop out of school until 12th grade, so that makes me more educated. He's so funny. I love the guy because he's so relatable too. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care where you are on the socioeconomic scale, like, you can relate to this guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you were you were working for him. Were you you didn't start off with the title of president, did you?
No, I was working with him as a keynote manager.
Okay.
And Weldon is on the road a lot.
Yeah.
He works extremely hard and makes himself available to many people. So with that, he had asked me to take on some responsibilities while he was gone.
Yeah.
And then in February of this year, he sent me a text one night. It was like 11 o'clock at night, on the East Coast. And he's like, I need you and Dylan to move, to Colorado. And I remember looking over at my son and said, wow, he's crazy. Like, he wants us to move to Colorado, and I knew I was having a shift in my life. Like I said, my health was restored at that point, and I knew there was going to be a shift in my life. Did I think that I would move across country? No, but, the next day, I think I even texted him and said, do you remember, like, are you serious about this? And his response was like, yes, so I just started really thinking about that and saying, I want to be close to my child. I mean, I only have one son. And, but at the end of the day, even though that he's my life doesn't necessarily mean that I'm his life, right? He's got to go out and do his thing, right? Yeah. I want him to be free and feel empowered to do that. So, I had to make a decision, like, what's best for Linda? And I was really, really grateful to that opportunity that he was giving me. Yeah. And I just made a decision to sell my home and pack up and drive across country with one of my best friends. And here I am.
I so clearly, I remember that too. I was like, wow. So,
yeah. I think I got here I think once I got here, I was kind of like, wow, what did I just do? But it's great. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Are you in Denver?
I'm just outside of Denver. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just in between Colorado Springs and Denver.
It's such a beautiful part of this country. If you've never been there, like, it's insane. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, my son is living the life, and he's been skiing a lot lately because he moved out. It ended up that he moved out after college, and he had a summer job back in New York. But so he's been doing some skiing and showing me photos, and it's just breathtaking. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. So you are now out in Colorado, and you are the president of Welding Long companies, right?
Just Welding Long.
Just Welding Long. Yeah. Okay. And I know you handle a lot of things for him and for the company. So what's it like at this point for you? Is it everything's moving along and good?
Yeah, things are good. With any new position, there's learning curves, right? So I'm doing things that I've never done before. So, with that is like, I'm definitely a student for certain, but there's a lot of great things happening at Welding Long. And so it's super exciting to be able to be part of it. As you know, like last week we were on in New York City because Weldon was on MSNBC. There's just a lot of wonderful things, products, and like his book and his newest book, which you've probably seen. Do you have that? Oh yeah, I sent
Oh
this.
yeah, I have it.
To you.
And bring that
So
back out. Let's tell everybody about that book because holy crap. And listen, I have so many books that people send me. Like it's insane. But like that one is the only one right now laying right next to my nightstand. And I actually sent Weldon a message and I said, dude, and I forget the guy's name now, but I said, dude, I want to meet the concrete man, like the
show the concrete.
Joe,
Yeah.
yeah, like holy moly. And the way that he tells that story in the book, like you can't stop. My wife was trying to go to sleep this night when I was reading that story, and I said, hey, wake up, listen to this. And it was just so good. It's such a great book. It's a great book.
Yeah, and solving problems, right? That's what Joe was doing. He was solving problems for Weldon, and that is the world of sales.
Yeah.
Is like he preaches this is like your job is to solve the problems.
Yeah.
Their job is to buy or not buy, and focus on that process.
Yeah, that's it. So what's I know that there's a lot of exciting things that Weldon's doing, and you, I mean, what's coming up for you guys? Anything big that you can talk about?
Yeah, we have Weldon was back in the studio and he refreshed his sales training. So for online purposes, because a lot of times he spent times at companies like FedEx and Home Depot and many other companies. And it's not that we're going to go away from that, but primarily it's going to be a lot of online. And then in addition to that, I feel like I'm giving a commercial here, but you asked.
Yes,
so,
go ahead.
But,
I want to hear it.
But I get fired up about it. But in addition to that is that, having been in that situation where, especially in my financial planning world, is that I did a lot of online training, but the consistent one thing that he teaches. And the way to do that is that he's going to have a live TV show every week so that anybody that takes his courses and following him, you're going to have Welding Long with you every single week. So how valuable is that to have that consistency and that person there with you, at all times? Because when you're online, you can sometimes feel like alone and you're not held accountable, right?
Yep.
So, but having that each and every week. So yeah, we have that, that's like the biggest thing right now besides, the keynotes that we're out, Weldon's continuing to do his keynotes and so forth, but some great online platforms with his live TV is here.
Yeah.
So
it truly is. I literally over the weekend I went, why don't I own breakthroughwalls.tv and create and I build websites, so like why don't I. So I met with my wife over the weekend. I'm like, I just bought this domain. We need to get this thing up and put all of the episodes in one spot like that. And so I love it. I love what we're able to create today online.
Yes.
And to have somebody like Welding Long, where you can just tune in to weldonlong.tv or whatever it's going to be.
Right. And the thing is that yes, we love the convenience of online, but we still need that personal touch, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what I think is really missing. And what makes this so unique is that each week that you get a piece of that person, you're able to ask that person questions and really be able to make a bigger stride in your business.
Yeah. Yes.
Because it could just be that like little thing that you hear that's going to really catapult you to the next big thing, right? Yeah. So I personally always I appreciate the value of the interaction still.
And one thing about Weldon is he most definitely he engages when you're on one of his live anything. he engages with you. I see so many people, and I'm sure you do, where they do live streaming and and then they complain about not getting any, interaction, but they're not saying hi to anybody. They're not talking to people on the stream. And now in a setting like this where I'm recording a TV show, it's a little hard to say hi to Sandy McNichol and Mindy Rosen and everybody else on the stream. But like like he engages when he does these things. I've been on, and he's like very, very engaging.
Well, I have to tell you, he's traveling a lot, and there's a lot of publicity around his book and our online training. So there's a lot of demands on him right now. But I get inboxed all the time saying, bring back the lives. And, even people put it on our business page, or like, bring back the lives. And we will do something so that we can give value. And I don't know if, how that will work out. That's something that we're certainly talking about going into the new year. So we will bring back those Facebook lives at some capacity, because people really get a lot of value from those. And quite honestly, we were hearing that sales managers were taking his material from these lives that he was doing, on Sunday nights, and using them in their Monday morning meeting. Yep. So it was really beneficial, to many people, so we recognize it and we want to give that back again. Yeah. So they will be coming back.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let me ask you, and can you believe we're almost at an hour already?
I know.
Oh, I told you it'd go fast. You're like, so what? It's 30 minutes, right? And I'm like, nope. It's an hour. And I won't tell you guys what she said. But anyway, so I do want to ask you this. Who's the best NFL team in the world?
The Steelers.
Amen, sister.
Yeah, great game yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. I had, like, this weekend was like, what's crazy is I caught the last few seconds of that game and the Ohio State Buckeyes, which I'm a fan of. Yeah, they pulled off I think it was 1 point win or something insane. Mm-hmm. Like, so, but let me ask you this. So, in your travels, in your journey, you've met a lot of people. You've met a lot of people. You've seen a lot of people. What do you think, in your opinion? This is all about your opinion, not Weldon's, nobody else's, just yours. What keeps people stuck?
I think is fear. Fear of what other people are going to think. I think that's like the biggest thing. And I would probably say that was, what held me back at times, because some people will come to me and say, wow, I wish I could be like you. I wish I could pack up and move across country. I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that, and I'm no different than anyone else. You just have to be willing to believe in yourself first and foremost, and then if you can't believe in yourself, then you go to someone like a Welding Long. Like, Weldon Long believed in me, right? Or Ken Walls, you believe in me. Like, I know that. So if I had a rough spot, I can go to you and lean on you in confidence for that, right? Yep. So, and just really shutting out, because here's what I learned in life. If you're up, people will talk about you. If you're down, people will talk about you. I've been in both situations. Yep. So at the end of the day, you just have to really shut that out and recognize, one of the things, the reason I'm really sitting here in Colorado is my dad had passed away at 55 from a brain aneurysm. And I remember sitting in the doorway of the bathroom and him looking in the mirror and, just getting ready for work or whatever. And I remember him saying, I can't freaking wait till I retire. And those were his exact words. I can't freaking wait till I retire.
Wow.
And he never made it to retirement. So at 50 years old, it was kind of easy for me to make this decision, even though I knew that where I was going, I believed in the product, which is a Welding Long. I believed in the person, and he's true to his word. And I believed in all of that. But at the end of the day, this is still my life. So the fear of, anything that is holding anyone back today is fear. And I believe it is the unknown. and worrying about what people might think of you. You know,
Yep.
I didn't know what it was. I came to Colorado. I didn't know anyone outside of Welding Long.
Right.
I left all my friends, all my family, my son. I even left my son. You know, he was back in New York in college, you know.
Wow.
So, you know, I can't tell you that I wasn't scared. You know, there wasn't moments that I would be like, what am I doing? You know,
Right.
like I'm leaving my comfort zone, you know, like what am I doing? But you know what? We only have one life. So if I can just, you know, and I know I'm preaching now, but if I can just inspire someone to say, just go for it. Just go for it. You know, you will be okay.
Right.
It might not go as planned and you might have to, go in and out and take some stepping stones. But it will be okay and you'll experience life, you know, so that's the long-winded answer.
It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful answer. Beautiful answer. Are you still there? Can you hear me?
I am.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Oh, we had a little internet hiccup there. I love it when that happens. Not so. So I ask this question of every single guest on the show, and I want to ask you this: if somebody came to you, because and look, I've been homeless 4 times. I was a raging alcoholic for many, many years. I'm a recovered alcoholic of 16 and a half years sober now, by the grace of God. But, you know, there were times in my life when this exact scenario occurred. So here's the scenario. Somebody calls you, they contact you, and they say, Linda, oh my God, my life is terrible. My electric's being shut off tomorrow. My car got repossessed yesterday. My wife is leaving me. My dog died. I don't know what I'm going to do. Life's a mess and they don't know where to turn. They don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to say to that person who has not 2 pennies to rub together? No car, it got repoed. Electric's being shut off tomorrow. Life's a mess. What do you say to them in that moment to get them unstuck and out over that hump?
I think that because people do reach out to me.
Sure.
And because, I do, put my positivity out there, especially on social media. And what you see is what you get, but that doesn't mean that I don't come without bruises, right? Without the punches. Not long ago, even though I was making decent money, I was sleeping with a flashlight because I didn't have electricity. Not long ago, I was taking change out of my car and just going down and buying a power bar, right?
Yep.
So even though that we just touched on all the glory, I've had some really dark times in my life, so one of the things that I would say is that at that moment is that I just let them know that, one, they're not alone, because when you're in those darkest moments, you feel so alone.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you understand that, right? Like you've been there and
Yeah.
You can have people around you and you can have family around you, but sleeping with a flashlight and going to bed at 7:00, and then waking up when the, sun comes up, because you don't have any electricity. That's really tough on your ego, right?
Yeah.
And your pride, especially if you're one to really go out there and want to kick ass, if you will,
Right.
So, and when things are working against you, it's really, really tough. So the first thing that I do is always let people know that they're not alone.
Yep.
That I understand, and I truly understand because I've been there.
Yep.
And then I just share with them, a little bit of my journey, and then usually, they're inspired. And right before, actually, Weldon called me right before our call, this interview. But right before that, a friend called me about a situation with her daughter's father. And she was doing exactly what you just said and going on and on and on and on. And I just said to her, basically, is that we've talked about this so many times, and where are you giving your energy right now? You're giving your energy to the past. You know, what is now? Like, and I encouraged her to literally go in front of the mirror, and she might be listening, but I literally, and I won't say her name, but I said to her, I said, go in front of the mirror and say, I am proud of you. I am proud of you. And then I had given her certain things to say about the now, you know, that empowered her. I go, because those are just draining you. Those words, like, I can talk about my ex. I can talk about the things that, I mean, I've been knocked down, you know, plenty of times, you know, and I could feel sorry for myself and all those. And sometimes we have to feel sorry for ourselves. You know, you go in, you have your crying moment, you brush off, and you come back out and you just get back into the game, you know, but it's staying there. And it's really, it becomes a decision. Is that, do you want to live in the past, or do you want to empower yourself and give yourself the life that you deserve by living in the now and in the future, you know, going forward. So that's what I encouraged her to do.
That's awesome. That's completely awesome. And I've gotten those phone calls too, and you know, it's they're tough calls because you want to write them a check or send them, you know, and that, as you know, is not. I mean, there's times in an emergency.
There's times, where somebody could, you know, I know what the value of $5 is. Trust me. You know what I mean? Like, I get that. And, you know, there's times certainly when you should give. You know, I wrote that on my post today. This is like a week of being thankful and giving, you know, so it's okay to give. You don't have to be spiteful. You don't have to even understand their situation.
That's right.
You know, it's not for you to understand.
Amen.
Just like you know, so at the end of the day, you know, don't judge, give, you know, definitely give, but empower that person. Let them know that they're not alone, and empower them to be better.
Right. I had somebody one time judge me he actually literally like called me out on it for giving a bum holding a sign, like $43. I only remember that because it was the exact amount of money I had with me, and I just gave it all to him. And this guy's like, are you crazy? He's going to go get drunk. And I go, look, that's between him and God. I did my part. Like,
exactly.
Like, that's it.
Exactly. I did the same thing. I made a post. There was, you know, maybe a month, and I gave the guy a $20 bill at the stop sign. And some people had said that. But you know what? Here's the shift. That we talk about that, but how many people did you inspire by doing that?
Right.
You know what I mean? By putting yourself out there, sharing your story, the $43. So probably the next time somebody was sitting at a light and they saw a homeless person, maybe they gave the $43. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It goes back to what I just said. It doesn't matter. The judgments don't matter. It's who you inspire that matters.
That's right.
You may have had, you know, people judging that post, but how many people did you inspire? And I'm certain that you inspired people to do more.
Right. We can always do more, and something can always be done to help other people, for sure. So
exactly.
Well, look, we are literally over an hour now.
Oh my goodness! I made it. I haven't done a
concerned. Oh my gosh.
I haven't done a Facebook Live in, like I said, over a year, so I forgot what this was all about. But it was really fun. I was, you know, we don't really get to spend time together, you know, so, but it was really fun.
Well,
thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely one of my favorite people in the world, and I just think the world of you. And I love I love all of your posts, and I would love to see you do some Facebook Lives because you are an inspiration to so many. My wife's on here. She said, great interview. So you're amazing. So listen, Linda, thank you so much for having the courage. I'm kidding.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good.
I'm kidding. No, but thank you for taking the time and coming on the show. I know your time is valuable. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon, hon.
Stay
All right.
on, stay on. Don't hang up.
Okay.
Let's end this. Everybody, thank you so much. If you guys know anybody truly inspiring that's made it in life and overcome all the ups and downs, send them my way to interview them here on the show. Linda, thank you again, and you guys have an awesome day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.